Hi class, what I want to do in this video file is to go over the answers for the Toulmin scheme homework practice that you did. Now, what you see here, this is my example, so I don't want to see this material in any of the homework submissions, but I do want you to have something you can review, especially in preparation for the Toulmin scheme quiz. So we're going to go through basically this homework practices every part that you need to know for the Toulmin scheme quiz. So I want to just go over each part here and make sure you know what the definitions are for the parts of the Toulmin scheme, but you also need to know the application of these parts. So keep that in mind as far as do you know what these terms mean and do you know what these terms do. So we're going to start with the initial enthymeme. Keep in mind this has several parts to it. Here I've specified that I need at least two stated reasons. And in my example here, I think I have two stated reasons. So if you look here at my initial enthymeme, I made an initial enthymeme about Facebook, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about Facebook. I haven't been active in Facebook for years, but my wife was kind enough. She's still active, and she kind of helped me out on some, but not all the material. So here my initial enthymeme says, creating and maintaining a Facebook account is a worthwhile endeavor since it provides access to family you would otherwise have difficulty keeping in touch with and allows you to share photographs easily with your friends. So if we look at this and we try to dissect it as far as um, which parts of the initial enthymeme, because there are multiple parts in the initial enthymeme, which part is which. So if we had to define our claim, I would say our claim, our overall opinion, we're going to try to prove through the whole essay is this first part. And basically you can a lot of times boil the claim down into a very simplistic you're endorsing or you're against. Not always, but it's the kernel opinion. And so here I'm basically saying that I'm going to have to prove Facebook is a positive program. Creating and maintaining a Facebook account is a worthwhile endeavor. Okay. As far as the stated reasons, these are going to be the main points of your grounds paragraphs. This is going to be the proof for your claim. And here I have two different stated reasons. I've got one here that says it provides access to family you would otherwise have difficulty keeping in touch with. And this is going to be one if we have to have backing. I like this warrant that we have with the stated reason because I think it is possibly a warrant that we'd have to prove a little bit depending on our audience. The second stated reason I have here in the initial enthymeme is Facebook allows you to share photographs easily with your friends, okay? So basically in my body paragraphs, I have two stated reasons I need to try to prove. I need to try to prove, first of all, that Facebook actually does provide access to family that it would be difficult to have otherwise. And then I also need to prove that you can share photographs easily with your friends on Facebook. Okay, that's what I'm having to prove. Now, when we look at warrants, that's probably the trickiest thing we have in the entire Toulmin scheme, I'd say, because warrants are they're assumptions, and a lot of students aren't comfortable with this because we're taught don't make assumptions. Assumptions are dangerous, and they are because even though they're dangerous, they're necessary. You have to have a point of agreement with your audience before you start an argument. And some students don't realize that. We're often taught that if you have an argument that you're against your audience, but that's not the case. You're going to start at a point of agreement, and it's much easier for your audience to walk with you to the destination you want them to arrive at if the audience understands you're actually starting on some common ground. And so the warrant here, this is going to be common ground. This is going to be a shared assumption that you and your audience have. Now, this is important. The warrant is not going to be something that's written down in the initial enthymeme. It's a ghost presence, okay? Because it's an implication, it's not in black and white. If I were to say write the warrant in an initial enthymeme, you won't be able to copy and paste anything because the warrant's not going to be something you can copy. It's implied. You'll have to kind of paraphrase the warrant in your own words by understanding what the idea is. So let's talk about when you have to define a warrant, where do you look? You're going to look at the stated reasons because most of the times the stated reasons are going to have some kind of a value assumption that you assume that your audience either agrees with you that that the stated reason is either positive or either negative. So let's take a look here at the two stated reasons I have in my initial enthymeme. I actually have two warrants that are operating here. One warrant I have is that my audience is going to agree with me that it's a good thing to keep in touch with your family. Notice that in my body paragraph, I'm going to have to prove that Facebook actually lets me keep in touch with family. What I probably don't need to do in my body paragraph is talk about here's why it's a good idea to keep in touch with your family. That's going to be a different job, okay? Because I'd say that probably your audience would agree with this warrant. Maybe not always, depending on our family life, right? Some of us, you may have an audience member who's just like, you know what? I don't want my family to keep in touch with me. I don't want to keep in touch with my family. So you can see the problem here. If you're arguing the benefit of Facebook with such an audience, and you have this shared assumption that, oh, this audience member will agree with me that keeping an audience, keeping in touch with your family is a good thing. You can see why this could be problematic if you did not back the warrant. So we'll get to that. We're going to back both these warrants up. So our first warrant here, if we look at our first stated reason, and we're saying that Facebook can actually help us keep in touch with family easier, the warrant in that is that keeping in touch with family is a good thing. It's something that you, the audience, are going to want to do. Okay. If we look at our second stated reason, that's going to be as far as the allowing the sharing of photographs easily. The warrant there is that that's a good thing, that it's a good thing to share pictures with friends. Okay. Most of the time, warrants can be boiled down to, in terms of just good and bad, that your audience is agreeing with you that this is a good thing. Your audience is agreeing with you that this is a bad thing. But just to kind of recap some places that students get it wrong, sometimes they look at the claim when they're trying to figure out the warrant. That's not where it's going to be. The warrant's going to be in the stated reason or the stated reasons, and so you're definitely going to be. It's possible to have multiple warrants if you have multiple stated reasons. Okay, so please do review your homework and make sure that your warrants that you have addressed a value assumption that is in your stated reasons. Okay? So let's just pretend that our two warrants here are not going to be warrants shared with their audience. What we have to do in that case is we have to back them up. Backing's not something that you have to have in every essay. It's something if you need it, you need it. And basically, you as a writer, you're going to have to kind of put yourself in your audience's shoes. You're going to have to see, is my audience going to find this a problematic warrant? And if you doubt that your warrant will be a shared assumption, that's where you quickly push pause on your argument. Before you move on proving your thesis, you have to very quickly back up your warrant. And that's going to be you justifying the value judgment you have in your stated reason. So I've done that. It's not something, some students, they get distracted and they go far too long trying to back a warrant. Do it quick, do it well, and move on. So here's one potential backing I have. If I have an audience that I am worried the audience won't think it's a good thing to keep in touch with family, I can say this: hey, you know what? Virtual updates, it can save you responsibilities of having to provide other more time and energy consuming updates with family. So here I've said basically virtual updates are a positive alternative than the more stressful, more of a hassle person to person or even phone updates that may be required of us otherwise. And that is a way of addressing to that audience that this is a good alternative, even if they don't want to keep in touch with family. It's something we all kind of have to do, and so virtual updates may be the best way for them to do that, even if they don't want to. It'll be the most painless way. Okay. Now, if we move on to backing our second warrant here, that it's a good thing to share pictures with friends. This actually involves me. I'm kind of selfish with pictures of my family. And so I would actually need a little bit of backing because I'd be concerned with privacy and, I don't want people peering into my life. But here, somebody could put a positive spin on what pictures can do. Pictures are an easy way to connect to past events and re-experience their fun and their fun energy. A picture's worth 1,000 words. You can share pictures and bring joy to people. Things like this to take someone who's grumpy like me about sharing pictures and hopefully kind of give them a more positive direction on what that can do. Okay? So hopefully that's clarified here the entirety of the initial enthymeme. And the initial enthymeme, you've got multiple parts. You'll always have a claim. You'll always have stated reasons. You'll always have warrants, but remember the warrants are not going to be written down. They're going to be assumptions that you have to figure out. You don't always have warrants. You don't always have backing for your warrants. If you need backing for your warrant, then quickly provide it and move on. Okay? So I've moved down to number 4. And number 4, mine is pretty sloppy because I did not spend the amount of time that you are going to spend in your homework submissions writing a good grounds paragraph. But I did want to do a few things in this grounds paragraph that really good grounds paragraphs try to use this. The first thing I want you to look at here, I have what's called a topic sentence. I bet you've heard that before. Here, the topic sentence is going to be basically a mini thesis. The topic sentence is going to be like, this is the main idea of the paragraph. So the thesis is going to be the main idea or the main ideas of your essay. Um, each grounds paragraph should have a topic sentence that it builds a fence for the reader. It builds a fence for you, the writer. Uh, this is the main idea of this paragraph. Say it better than that, though, of course. You can't say in this paragraph, I will discuss Facebook and family. That's a fact. And one thing you got to understand, topic sentences, just like a thesis sentence, it's going to be an opinion, something that you try to prove. So you can announce in this paragraph, I will talk about X. You need to, instead of announcing your opinion, or announcing what your opinion will be, you need to provide your opinion and then start to defend it with examples. So here I've got my main opinion. Facebook provides any befriended family member updates as to what is happening in your life. I'm going to have to prove in my body paragraph that Facebook actually does allow that to happen. So I'm going to have to give examples and explain what those examples mean a bit. I've tried to give a couple of examples here that my wife was nice enough to kind of help me with my terminology here. It's been so long that the timeline I didn't have that when I used Facebook at the time. It's just a wall. And so when I had said that while I was composing stuff, my wife was nice enough to let me know that they don't have a wall anymore. It's called a timeline. So if we look at our examples here, they can, for example, access photos of any life events. Notice here I've got some specific examples, such as a daughter's birthday or a Valentine's Day dinner. Family can also access what you think about current events, since they can read your timeline. There we go. That includes personal reflections, links to other material you want to share, and memes you find entertaining. So here I've tried to give examples of how can your family get to know you a little bit better based on just your Facebook page. With a simple checkup on your Facebook page, family can feel connected to your life. What I've done here in this final sentence is something that I think a lot of students need direction with. At the end of a paragraph, a lot of students have trouble transitioning. And I think sometimes in high school, we're taught that a good transition is to announce what the next paragraph's idea is going to be. That's bad. Don't do that because that actually brings in two main ideas in one paragraph, and you don't want that. You should really limit your main paragraphs, your body paragraphs, to just one main idea. So if you've heard the advice before that a good way to transition into a new paragraph is to preview the main idea of the upcoming paragraph, forget that idea. I think a better idea is to almost echo what your main idea has been in the paragraph. If you think about a conclusion, the conclusion paragraph is an echo of the main ideas you've discussed in your paper. I think that the last sentence of a body paragraph, you don't want to copy and paste anything that you've already said, but you can simply restate or revisit what the main point of that paragraph has been. And this does two things. First of all, it's really for lazy readers, and most of us are. The first thing it does, it signals to the reader when they hear that echo. We kind of automatically in our brain transition into something new. It prepares us that you're moving on to something new. And the second thing it does for us lazy readers, it makes sure that we do know what your topic point has been for that paragraph. So that's my suggestion on that. The counter arguments. Now, if you haven't done this yet, please do check out that PowerPoint where I talk about counter arguments and refutals because it's a very important part of the Toulmin scheme. And without practice, that you'll in examples that you'll see in the PowerPoint, it can be a bit confusing. So remember, a counter argument is going to be something against your claim. So a counter argument is going to be either a challenge to your thesis or it'll be a weakness of your thesis. Here I've got two that I think are valid counter arguments. And that's another challenge with counter arguments. Most of the time when you bring up your opposition, they're valid points that you have to address anyway. So the first counter argument we have, privacy, it's a privacy invasion. Facebook allowing your family and your friends and other people that aren't your family and aren't your friends to see pictures of you, to see what you're thinking, to see if you're traveling, pictures you're taking, that a lot of people are very concerned that that's a privacy invasion. Other people may argue another counter argument about the benefit of Facebook, saying that it's addictive, that it leads to addictive updates and addictive checking to see what other people have updated and stuff like that. And I think that both of these are valid. Like, I don't think the people who believe this are stupid by any means. These are ideas that there's examples that justify it and things like that. But you still have to treat these counter arguments effectively. You have to refute them. And the refutal is going to be your answer to the counter arguments you bring up. Remember, if you cannot refute the counter argument, don't bring it up. I think these are two counter arguments we can actually refute. So we'll start with privacy invasion. We could refute the fear an audience would have about, oh, well, this is going to be an invasion of my privacy. We can refute that by saying, you know what? Some are concerned that Facebook is a window into an invasion of privacy. However, you can adjust your privacy settings on your Facebook account to just let certain people see certain information. And you can talk about the different restrictions that they have available. As far as the addiction goes, you could, I think, refute this in a way where you kind of acknowledge that, yes, sure, it can be addictive behavior, but you could definitely spend the time in worse ways. I mean, think about it. Facebook, even if somebody's checking it too much, that's time that they're spending learning more about their friends, learning more about other people, reading articles about things that are going on in the world. So, I mean, even if you're not trying to argue that, you know what, no way, Facebook's not addictive, that may not be an argument you can make. So instead of trying to argue against Facebook being addictive, you can try to spin it as far as, you know what, sure, people may spend a lot of time on this, but the time could definitely be spent in worse ways. And the time that people spend on Facebook, it's actually productive time. It's informing them about their loved ones. It's informing them about friends. And that's all important in the human condition. I mean, you could really spin it positively. Um, so I hope in this activity, although it's not as polished as yours will be in your homework submissions, I think it gets the job done in the homework as far as understanding what these Toulmin scheme pieces are, and not only their definition, but also applications of what they look like. Except the warrant, because that's, you won't be able to copy and paste that. You can't just say easily, here's what the warrant is in this initial infamy. Remember, the warrant's going to be something you have to kind of figure out what your assumption is, what the value is in your stated reason, um, and if you need to back it, do so quickly. Okay, please let me know if you have questions about this activity before you access the quiz, and I'll be happy to try to clarify things. Thanks, and see you later.